Okay, I'm going to start class by welcoming all of you guys. Sawadee Krap. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see all of you guys this morning. Today is our Pali Canon and English study group, and we're studying volume 13, which is titled Generosity, and we're studying chapters 41 through 50, if we get to those chapters during our class. This particular class is taught in a unique way, which I'll talk about after we do our meditation. We start our class with meditation, so I'd like to invite all of you guys here at the temple and anyone who's joining online to join for meditation. We do meditation by starting with chanting. If you'd like to see the chants that we do, they're on a laminated sheet over there on the table. You'll see the Pali chants as well as the English translations. These chants, they're not a rite or ritual or ceremony or worship. It's to help ease the mind into meditation in order to get more benefit out of the meditation itself. There's nothing mystical or magical or superstitious or auspicious about these chants. They're not prayer or worship or anything like that. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting in order to commit the teachings to memory because everything he taught was oral. So we use chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory. So today we use these chants in order to ease the mind into meditation because we have books and videos and podcasts and things like this to be able to capture the teachings. We don't need to chant in order to capture the teachings, but we still chant as a way of easing the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you end up getting one of those sheets and you look at the English translations, there's a lot of gratitude and respect and admiration for the Buddha in these chants. And because of that, I don't think that the Buddha actually created these chants himself. They were probably created either by his students during his life or after his death, because a student who's learning how to move their mind from anger and sadness and frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, all these discontent feelings, to the enlightened mental state where the mind's peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. If you learn from a teacher how to do that, you probably have a lot of respect and admiration for that person too, because the Buddha didn't want anything from his students. He didn't expect anything from his students. He just shared the teachings to be able to help them to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. So his students most likely created these chants either during his life or after his death, because by the time you get to enlightenment, you've eliminated your ego. You don't go around being boastful or arrogant or prideful. So a Buddha and even an enlightened being isn't going to go around and teach people to chant things to them out of admiration and respect. So if you'd like to learn these chants, you're welcome to chant along with that sheet. After the chanting, I'll provide you some guidance during the meditation. You'll hear a little bit of guidance, and then there'll be a period of time where it'll just be quiet. We'll just all be meditating together. Those of us here at the temple and anyone who's joining us online, we can just all be meditating at the same time. I'm sure you'll hear an occasional sound like a car going by or a dog barking or a bird chirping, but these things are all impermanent. You can just keep bringing your mind back to the breath, not craving to be in permanent silence, because it's not possible for you to be in permanent silence, that you're going to hear a sound occasionally. And you can train your mind to not be annoyed or frustrated by these things by just bringing your mind back to the breath, by eliminating the longing and yearning and holding on. Just train your mind to let go. So after the time that it's quiet and we're just meditating, we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And that's where I'll move into sharing some teachings of the Buddha with you guys and helping you guys understand what the Pali Canon and English study group is. In terms of your body positioning, if you're new to meditation or you'd like to learn a little bit about body positioning, there's 4 different positions for meditation. There's seated, lying, standing, and walking. Oftentimes students are learning in the seated position, and I see all of you guys are sitting on the floor, but we have chairs as well that you're welcome to use a chair at any time. Those of you guys at home, you might be on a sofa or a bench or in a wheelchair or something like this. It's important to make yourself comfortable, not luxurious and not painful. You're not interested in being in pain during meditation. You're interested in actively training the mind. And if you're experiencing pain in the mind, then you're not going to be able to actively train the mind. So what a lot of people choose to do is, if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. Some people like to put their legs off the mat in order to get their hips up in the air and lessen the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. You like your legs to just be lightly crossed instead of real tight, because this will allow the circulation to flow. The hands and the arms, the Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. But this practice isn't about everybody doing it exactly the same way, because this isn't possible. Everybody's going to find something different to be slightly more comfortable or less comfortable. So there's other options too. You could put your palms on your thighs or on your knees, your palms up. Some people like to put their palms in their lap. So wherever your hands and arms are comfortable, you can just put them there. And as I mentioned, there's other positions as well. So if at any time you feel discomfort, just adjust the body and get to a comfortable position so that you can continue with your meditation. So again, I'm going to ease into meditation with some chanting, and then I'll be back with some guidance after that. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanhang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in gradually through the nose, establishing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหะวาโพตังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเตมิ สวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมโมโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาธัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, I'd like to welcome all of you guys here at the temple, including those of you guys that joined us since we started meditating. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to everyone online as well who's joining us. This is our Pali Canon and English study group, and we study the words of the Buddha in more of a traditional, or not in a traditional style of learning, but more in a study group where we study the words of the Buddha. Oftentimes, students have taken a foundational program or foundational classes before they've come to learn in this particular program, but we have many different programs here to be able to help you learn and grow. And even if this is your first time coming to the temple to learn the teachings of the Buddha, you'll be able to learn something today. The teachings of the Buddha are to help guide you to the enlightened mental state where your mind can be peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, your mind's focused, you have concentration, clarity, deep memory, your personal and professional relationships are blossoming, they're at ease. You're not being bitter and hostile and harsh in your relationships anymore. You'll notice you're not even in a bad mood because the causes and conditions that are producing these things have been uprooted out of the mind. You've purified your mind. So you need meditation like what we just did. This is part of the path to enlightenment, is training your mind with meditation, but you would need other teachings as well in order to guide you on the path. You wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. So it's not possible to meditate 23 hours a day, but let's just say you were meditating for 23 hours a day and you went outside and you were bitter and harsh and hostile with people, or egotistical or prideful or boastful, or all these other unwholesome qualities that can be experienced in the mind. Your mind's not going to be enlightened. It doesn't matter how much you're meditating. If you're not practicing the teachings in daily life, your mind is not yet enlightened. You haven't purified it. So the meditation is there to support you and help you to grow and develop on the journey journey to enlightenment, but you're also looking to practice the teachings in day-to-day life through your relationships and your interactions with people. So what we do in this program is I help you to learn the original teachings of the Buddha through his own words. And we have various programs where, like, there's a foundational program on Sundays and Wednesdays where we use the first book of this book series, which is called Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. And there you're learning each Sunday chapter by chapter by chapter over a 7-month period. And we have various courses and retreats that will help you to develop a foundation in the teachings of the Buddha, help you to develop harmony in your relationships. We have a course starting on Monday called Experiencing the Jhanas and the 4 Stages of Enlightenment. We have various retreats throughout the year. And then that particular program, the group learning program that is to help you to develop a foundation, that one is a 7-month program that you can join here at the temple, or you can join online, or if you can't join live, it's recorded so you can watch the replay at your own pace. This program, the Pali Canon English Study Group, it meets each Saturday at 9 a.m. here at the temple, and then I live stream it. But then I also do the same class from home at 9 p.m. for other people in other time zones, and all of these classes are recorded. And what we do is we go through volumes 2 through 13 of the book series. In this book series, if you went through the Pali Canon English Study Group, it would take you a year and a half to slowly go through and learn and develop your practice. Getting to enlightenment is not a 1-week thing. It's not a 1-month thing. It's not even a 1-year thing. It's a lifelong journey to get to enlightened mental state. But you can do it in a number of years. And then ultimately from that point forward, your mind will be peaceful and joyful for the rest of your life. You'll never experience anger and sadness and frustration or any of those discontent feelings ever again. By the time you get to enlightenment, all of those discontent feelings like the guilt and shame and fear, the stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, resentment, jealousy, all of this is eliminated from the enlightened mind. So you need teachings to be able to help you, and you need a teacher to be able to help you as well so that you can be guided on the path. But it's you doing the work. It's the independent practitioner who's choosing to do the work, choosing to read, choosing to come to class, choosing to meditate, choosing to seek guidance from a teacher, and all these kinds of things. So what we do in this particular program is I have the chapters for this week here on the screen, and for those of you guys online, you'll be able to see them as well through the visual aids that we have here. And what I do is I invite someone either here at the temple or those of you guys in Zoom to read one of the chapters. And these chapters are actually quite short. You can see here, this one's only about a page. What this is an excerpt from the original Pali Canon. The original teachings of the Buddha are in 45 large volumes of books that are about this thick. And these are excerpts that are bringing out and drawing out certain golden nuggets about the teachings of the Buddha. So oftentimes reading the original Pali Canon, it's very repetitive and it's very long. And the Buddha taught this way intentionally because it was an oral tradition and he needed to speak in repetitive ways in order to help people learn his teachings. But nowadays we've got these extracts where instead of maybe trying to digest a very long discourse, you can just read a page like this and maybe get 1 or 2 or 3 golden nuggets out of the teachings of the Buddha, and it consolidates it. So now we're in volume 13, which is the very last book of the book series, and we're getting ready to restart the Pali Canon English Study Group from the very beginning. On July 20th, we'll be starting from volume 2, chapter 1, which is the very beginning of the Pali Canon and English Study Group. And oftentimes students, like I mentioned, have taken one of our foundational programs before moving into the Pali Canon English Study Group. But if you haven't done that, it's okay. In fact, even though we're restarting on January 20th, you can really start this program at any point. You don't have to start at the very beginning because of the nature of the way it's being taught. You could really start it at any point. But the fact that it is restarting makes it really nice for people who would like to start learning from the very beginning of the program. So what I'm going to do is invite anybody that's here at the temple and anyone online, if you would like to read this particular chapter, and then after you read it, then I'll share some teachings for about 5 minutes or so on that chapter, and then I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to that. This is more of a study group where everything else that I teach is more of a traditional style of learning, where I will teach for about 15, 20, or 30 minutes, and then open up to questions, and then I'll teach another 15, 20, 30 minutes and open up the questions. But here it's more of a study group style. This particular book is all about generosity. what generosity is where you're giving and sharing more than is strictly required in any given situation, such as your time, your effort, your energy, and your resources, without any expectation of anything in return. And this is helping your mind to let go, because the thing that's causing the mind to be frustrated and agitated and annoyed and all those other discontent feelings is that it's holding on. It's wanting things to be a certain way. And if you get things the way you want, you get happy and excited. But if you don't get what you want, you get these painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So as long as your mind can only be happy when you get what you want, then the amount of time that you can be happy becomes less and less and less and less. So the Buddha is teaching you with tools and techniques of how to purify your mind and eliminate the pollutions that are causing it to experience this up and down of discontentedness. He didn't teach a bunch of beliefs of things that you should believe and then something good happens when you die. He didn't teach a bunch of rules and commandments requiring you to do any particular thing. There isn't any rites or rituals or ceremonies or worship in his teachings. Instead, he's providing you wisdom about this natural law of karma, of cause and effect, where you can see that when you make wise decisions, it produces wholesome results. And then when you make unwise decisions, it produces unwholesome results. One of the wise decisions that you can make is to practice generosity. As you're practicing generosity with the people around you, or at a temple, or with ordained practitioners, with teachers, you're practicing the giving of sharing of more than is strictly required, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources, without any expectation of anything in return. So therefore, it's training your mind to let go. Just like the meditation we just did, when you're focused on the breath and the mind's moving off the breath, and you're bringing your mind back to the breath, it's training your mind to let go. Let go, let go. So in daily life, when you have that boyfriend or girlfriend that you guys broke up and you just can't let go, not understanding that this relationship is impermanent, and you're feeling sad and you're feeling lonely and you're feeling bored and miserable and you're missing this person, if you've trained your mind, you can learn how to let go. Or in daily life, if you see something that somebody does that you disagree with, you can train your mind to let go and not be angry and frustrated. Eventually, if you train your mind to do this enough through breathing mindfulness meditation and generosity, as well as all the other steps on the Eightfold Path, you'll get to the point where anger never arises or frustration never arises. And this is where your mind's fully enlightened, and you'll notice that the mind is completely purified and you won't experience any discontent feelings. Because you know in situations where you now experience irritation or frustration or stress or anxiety or jealousy, you know when you experience those. And when you're no longer experiencing that, having trained your mind, you'll know that it was these teachings that helped you to be able to do that. So these chapters that we're studying, it's all about generosity. And we've been studying a whole lot of other things before this in this particular program. So if you would like to volunteer to read this chapter, what I would ask is that you use a microphone here in the white bowl in front of the camera. That way the people online will be able to hear you, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple as well. All you need to do is get a microphone, press the gray button on the front, the lights will come on. You just wait a second or so and then hold it up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple. And then for those of you guys that are online, if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, and then I'll see that, and you can open up your microphone and we'll be able to hear you when you're reading the chapter. And then the same thing is true if you would like to ask questions. For those of you here at the temple, if you could use the microphones, and if you get a microphone, you can take it back to your seat, because you might have more than one question, or the people around you might have a question, and you can share the microphone. We have plenty available for all of you guys. And then if those of you online would like to ask a question, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Put it in the comment section and I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and open up your mic, and we'll be able to hear you here, and they'll be able to hear you on the live stream as well. So is there anybody who would like to volunteer to read this particular chapter? Yes, sir.
Gifts of a wholesome person. Second discourse. Monks, there are these 5 gifts of a wholesome person. What 5? 1. He gives a gift out of confidence. 2. He gives a gift respectfully. 3. He gives a timely gift. 4. He gives a gift unreservedly. 5. He gives a gift without injuring himself or others. 1. Because he has given a gift out of confidence, wherever the result of that gift is produced, he becomes rich, with great wealth and property, and he is handsome, attractive, grateful, possessing supreme beauty of complexion. 2. Because he has given a gift respectfully, wherever the result of that gift is produced, he becomes rich, with great wealth and property, and his sons and wives, slaves, servants and workers are obedient, lend an ear and apply their minds to understand. 3. Because he has given a timely gift, wherever the results of that gift is produced, he becomes rich, with great wealth and property, and timely benefit come to him in abundance. 4. Because he has given a gift unreservedly, wherever the result of that gift is produced, he becomes rich, with great wealth and property, and his mind inclines to the enjoyment of the 5 kinds of fine sensual pleasures. 5. Because he has given a gift without injuring himself or others, wherever the result of that gift is produced, he becomes rich, with great wealth and property, and no damage comes to his property from any source, whether from fire, floods, kings, thieves, or displeasing hearers. These are the 5 gifts of a wholesome person.
Okay, thank you, Leo. So what you have here in these books, which are all available for you at no cost by downloading them from our website, you can take them and go print them. You can get printed versions here at the temple by just reimbursing us for our printing cost, or you can order them on Amazon. What you have is you have the words of the Buddha in each one of these chapters. These are his original words during his lifetime. You have a reference back to the original Pali Canon to show you where this actually came from. So if you would like to see what the Buddha was talking about before or after this, you have the reference to go do that. And then you have words from me. Here it's pretty short because this is pretty straightforward. You have words from me that are reflections and teach you how to integrate this into your practice. So if you read these books, you'll be able to glean a lot of insight. But what we do here in the study group is I just kind of give you an overview and then open up to any questions that you guys have. So there are certain things that I teach in the classes that aren't in the books, and there are certain things in the books that aren't in the classes. So a combination of the two, you're able to learn and fully grow and develop in your journey to enlightenment. So here we've got a chapter about this wholesome person and these gifts. Everything that the Buddha is talking about during his lifetime is to help you understand the natural law of karma, of cause and effect, or action and result. He's not trying to convince you to do anything. He's not trying to force you to do anything. He's explaining to you this natural law so that more and more you can see it clearly of what are the causes and conditions that lead to any particular wholesome result and the causes and conditions that lead to unwholesome results. So wise decisions that lead to wholesome results and unwise decisions that lead to unwholesome results. And you can examine that. You can investigate his teachings. You can then reflect on it to independently verify it. And then you can practice it and see the truth for yourself that what he's teaching you is true. So when you're learning something, you're not believing it, you're investigating it, you're intellectually trying to understand it. Then when you're reflecting, you're looking at your own life and the life of people around you and see if you can verify that this is true, that you've seen something that has actually occurred based on what the Buddha is describing. And then when you see that through the intellectual learning and your reflection that this is true, then you start practicing it. And this is where you see improved results in your life. So the Buddha is teaching you how to improve the condition of your mind through acquiring wisdom and training your mind, awakening to this natural law of karma, of cause and effect. So here in this book, we have all these chapters about generosity, and is explaining the natural law of karma around the practice of generosity. And I often share with students how your mind had to awaken to other natural laws in your life too, that at one time you didn't understand the natural law of gravity, and your mind struggled and you had difficulties in the world because of this natural law of gravity. So slowly but surely, you needed to gain wisdom about this natural law of gravity. And when you did, your mind was awoken to that wisdom, and now you don't struggle and have difficulties with that natural law anymore. The natural law of gravity affects us, whether we're aware of it or not. There's no being who's controlling it, that we're affected by this natural law. when we didn't have wisdom about it, we struggled and had difficulties. We fell down, we broke open our elbows, we broke our toys, we had all kinds of difficulties. But slowly but surely, we gained wisdom of this natural law, and now we navigate the world more readily. We can climb ladders, we can get on bicycles, we can get on airplanes, we can navigate the world with this natural law of gravity. And the natural law of Gama is the same way, that it affects you whether you're aware of it or not, and you need to be able to awaken to the wisdom of it in order to be able to navigate the world and no longer struggle and have difficulties. When you're angry or you're irritated, or you're feeling stress or anxiety, this is the mind struggling because it doesn't have wisdom of this natural law. So the Buddha is helping you to understand what it took for him to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state, and then you're invited to be able to learn that if you like. So when you see teachings like this where the Buddha is teaching about generosity, in that practicing generosity leads to being rich and wealthy and things like this, he's not encouraging you to become rich and wealthy. An enlightened being can be rich and wealthy, but there's no harm in being rich and wealthy, but that's not what's going to lead to your happiness. It's not money that's going to lead to happiness. You need a certain amount of income and a certain amount of ability to provide for your basic necessities. But if you were just chasing money, you're going to have an unquenchable thirst where you just want more and more and more and more and more. And it's never going to be enough. The mind's going to get happy when you get what you want. And then when you don't get what you want, you'll be sad or frustrated or agitated. So you're going to need to pursue money as a goal, as an objective or interest. But if you chased it with craving, desire, attachment, and say you got a new raise at work where you got $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, and this was a significant raise for you at work, you'd be happy for a period of time. It'd be temporary. That happiness will arise, it'll change, and it'll fade away. Within 3 months, 6 months, a year, that won't be enough money anymore. You're going to want more, and then you're going to want more, and you're going to want more, right? But also, if you were on the other side where you could care less about your career and you weren't taking care of the things you needed to take care of in order to grow your career, you wouldn't feel peaceful and joyful there either. So you need to find the middle where you can gradually pursue increased amounts of income, but don't form your inner feelings based on your bank account, for example. If your bank account's a certain balance, you might be happy, but then when it goes down, you might be sad if your mind's attached to this money. So you need to learn how to acquire money and be able to sustain your life without forming your inner feelings based on the amount of money you have, or form your identity of who you are as a person based on the amount of money that you have or you don't have, right? We might have this arrogance or pride because we think we're so rich or wealthy, or we might feel diminished or a lesser of a person if we feel like we don't have much money. Whereas if you don't form your inner feelings based on your money, you can be peaceful and joyful in the world. And the mind needs to know how to do this with all things. So the Buddha isn't teaching you to become rich or wealthy, even though enlightened beings sometimes are rich and wealthy. He also isn't teaching you generosity because he was trying to enrich himself, because he was already rich. He was a prince destined to become a king, and he stepped away from that. So when he's teaching you generosity and he's explaining these things, he's just explaining to you the natural law and helping you to be able to see it. So you shouldn't think that he's trying to motivate you to become rich or wealthy or any of these other things, or that he's trying to enrich himself. He's just showing you this cause and effect. So here he's saying, okay, if you would like to practice generosity in a wholesome way, these are 5 things that you should consider. That you can give a gift out of confidence, you can give a gift respectfully, give a gift timely, unreservedly, and without injuring yourself or others. So here he goes into detail about that. And he just says, okay, if you give a gift out of confidence, meaning you're calm and confident when you give your gift, he's saying it leads to producing this richness, this wealth and property. He says that about all of them, because with the natural law of Gama, whatever you put out, it's going to come back to you. So if you're putting out generosity and you're sharing with other people, you will notice that this will come back to you. This is the cause and effect of the natural law of Gama. But then he also goes in and says, okay, this will produce a certain amount of handsomeness or attractiveness or beauty or complexion, either in this life or future life. Because when you're giving out of confidence, your mind is joyful. And when you're joyful, you're more beautiful, you're more handsome, right? Whereas if you're angry and disgruntled and irritated, your face isn't so beautiful, right? So it's not that you just magically become beautiful because you're practicing generosity. It's not like a mystical or magical thing. It's all about what's going on in the mind. When the mind is peaceful, when the mind is joyful, the appearance of the human being will be more joyful, and you'll be more beautiful in having this nicer complexion. So giving a gift out of confidence, the mind is calm and confident and joyful, and that's why there's this appearance of beauty. It's not a mystical, magical thing. It's what's going on in the mind, that when you're joyful, you look more beautiful. Look in the mirror. And when you're angry, when you're frustrated, you look, not so beautiful. You look kind of ugly, right? When you're irritated and angry and sad and grieving and frustrated and all these other, when you're stressed and having anxiety, you don't have the same appearance. So you can see this cause and effect that the Buddha is talking about, because everything that he's teaching you is to train your mind. But when you're training your mind, it has an effect on the body. The mind is the boss, and the body is the employee. The body is just following along. So that's why someone can look at your face and perhaps realize, hey, you're angry, aren't you? Because the body is the employee. It's just following along with whatever's going on in the mind. So if the mind is angry, it'll show in the body. But if the mind is joyful and it's confident, that'll also show in the body too. And that's why there's this handsomeness or this beauty that the Buddha's talking about when you give with confidence. Then he talks about giving respectfully. And as you give respectfully, of course, he's talking about being rich and wealthy, because what you put out comes back to you. But he's also talking about how the people around you, and during his lifetime, he's talking to men in this particular situation. So he's talking about wives, slaves, and servants, workers. We might think about this as employees. During his lifetime, people had slaves. Again, he's not suggesting that people should have slaves. He's just teaching the people that are there, that people that understand that they have slaves. So he needs to teach them how to handle this situation, and that, yes, these people will listen to you. They will, because you're doing things respectfully, the people around you will be respectful. Whereas if you're disrespectful, you're going to notice that your children, your friends, your family, the people around you are going to be disrespectful too. This is your karma. So the Buddha is teaching you that, okay, when you give a gift respectfully, the people around you are going to listen to you and be respectful as well. This is the cause and effect. He's not trying to incentivize you to give in order to get people to be respectful around you. He's just helping you to see this natural law, so that when you're practicing giving respectfully and you notice that people around you are very respectful, then you'll notice that this is the truth. This is the natural law. He's explaining it to you, but you shouldn't give a gift because you want somebody's respect. That's not pure generosity. But he's helping you to see that when you do give a gift respectfully, it will promote this respectfulness in the people around you, because they're seeing you be respectful, so therefore they will be respectful as well. And then he talks about giving a timely gift. What this means is, like, say somebody's going on a trip, or say your child's going away to university or some certain event, and you're giving a gift that is timely, meaning they need this particular thing. Maybe your friend's going on a camping trip and you buy them a flashlight, for example, right? That's a timely gift because they need it at that particular time. So the Buddha is saying, okay, when you give this timely gift, then this benefits in this abundance. Unreservedly means without selfishness. Right? That if you're giving a gift and you're kind of stingy and selfish and like, yeah, I don't want to give too much, I'm just going to give a little bit. This is reservedly. The mind is still selfish. And the Buddha is teaching you generosity in order to train your mind to not be selfish. By the time you get to enlightenment, you're not going to be selfish. You're going to be willing to give and share. The Buddha even says that by the time you get to enlightenment, that even if you were eating food and it was your last bite or your last mouthful, you would be willing to share it with other people. Like right now, you might not be able to do that. You might hold on to that. But the Buddha teaches that, hey, even if this is your last bite or your last mouthful, you'd be willing to share it with other people. So unreservedly is what the Buddha is teaching you to give a gift here. And then he talks about giving a gift without injuring himself or others. This is really important, right? Like if you were to steal from somebody and then give that gift to somebody, you've injured somebody. And this also relates to something we were talking about not long ago. Like say you would like to give food to an ordained practitioner. If you were to give them meat, for example, you've injured another being in order to give that meat. right? Now you've harmed another being to kill that being. So it's wise to give gifts that aren't harming and injuring other beings. So you could harm by stealing from somebody, taking their material possessions. You could harm somebody's reputation or their physical presence. You could harm their physical body. And you're not interested in doing this in order to share gifts with people. You would like to do this without harming others, but also without harming yourself as well. Because if you harm yourself, meaning say you gave so much to somebody that you didn't have the basic needs that you need for your own life, you would be harming yourself, right? So the Buddha is teaching you not to harm yourself or to harm others when you're giving a gift. So you need to put thought behind any kind of generosity that you're practicing and making sure you're doing it from the middle way. Whereas if you're extensively sharing and you don't have the basic needs that you need for your life, this wouldn't be wise. But also, if you never shared and your mind was selfish, this wouldn't be wise either. So you need to come to the middle, which is what the Buddha taught. So even with something like generosity, you need to do it from the middle way. So any questions on this chapter? This one is chapter 41. Okay, Junko, looks like you have a question. Go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry, I was muted. So, good morning, and my question is, so first sentence, monks, there are these 5 gifts of a wholesome person. So that meaning is if you are you are a wholesome person, so you would get these 5 gifts, right?
What he's saying is that when you're a wholesome person and you're practicing generosity, these are the types of gifts that you're giving. That, of course, if you're, let's just say you're giving some food to somebody. Yes, you're giving the food and that's the thing you're giving. But what you're also giving and the things that you should practice are this confidence, respectful giving, timely giving, give unreservedly, and give a gift without injuring yourself or others. And the Buddha describes these as gifts that you're giving to other people. Because sometimes when we're developing our own practice, sometimes people think that, oh, if I develop my practice, this is like selfish of me to practice meditation for myself. And what the Buddha often does, not just in this discourse, but other discourses, is he casts the things that you're doing for your own mind as gifts that you're giving to other people. So for example, when he teaches moral conduct, he will sometimes teach that when you're not killing, you're not stealing, you're not having sexual misconduct, you're not lying, and you're not taking substances that cause heedlessness, he talks about how you're giving this gift of freedom from fear and stress to other beings because you are choosing not to kill, steal, have sexual misconduct, lie, or take intoxicants. So here it's the same kind of thing that he's saying, that when you give a gift, not only are you giving the actual thing that you're giving, but you're also giving these things too as part of your gift.
So thank you so much. So the part 5, it said he gives. He means so the person who are wholesome, right? So yeah. They give us those gifts to others as well.
Yes, you can.
I'm sorry.
You can substitute any pronoun here, even though he's saying he. He must be talking to an assembly of males. That's why he's saying the word he. Sometimes he's talking to females and he will say she, but it's applying to any living being who chooses to do these things. So you can substitute the pronoun of he for she or they or any of those kinds of things.
Okay, so the kind of gift is the So they got 5 gifts. So the gift is so those mind. So they become very generous, right? So they give a gift to others. Here, kind of thinking, okay.
Here he's describing the qualities that would be wise for you to practice whenever you're developing your practice around generosity. So when I talk generally about generosity, and I say it's the giving and sharing of more than is strictly required in any given situation, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources without any expectation of anything in return, that's explaining what generosity is. But now with the words of the Buddha, he's going in and he's explaining to you specifically how to practice this generosity with with these certain qualities and these certain attributes in order to be able to really truly hone in on the practice of generosity and what would be wise for you to practice with your generosity.
Okay, thank you so much. It's really deep one for me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you can think about it and maybe come back to it and read it more than one time and ask follow-up questions as you need to.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any questions here at the temple? It just takes a second or so to engage.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a question. Because as a awesome person, we need to offer gifts for other people. But during this, seem like we need to force us not to notice ourselves want. Yeah. Is this will produce some unhappiness?
Yeah, when you're not getting what you want, you're going to be unhappy.
Yes.
And that's the whole problem that the mind has, is the craving, the desire, the wants, the expectations. So this practice is about eliminating that craving, the desire, the longing, the yearning, but also it's eliminating being indifferent and could care less what's happening too, coming to the middle. So this practice of generosity is training your mind to let go. It's not about what you want in the world. It's about you. In this particular practice is about training your mind to let go, right? It's not so the things that you need in the world, you're going to need to pursue those as goals, objectives, or interests. But it's when you chase them as wants and you form your inner feelings based on those things, that's where your mind's going to get happy when you get what you want, and you're going to get sad when you don't get what you want. So the Buddha teaches you how to get rid of your wants, your expectations, your longing, your yearning, but pursue things as a goal, as an objective or interest. But the unenlightened mind, it typically only knows how to pursue things as wants and expectations, and it chases and chases and chases. And it finds it hard to be motivated through just wise decision making. It's wise for me to do this particular thing. So that's what the practice is helping you to be able to accomplish.
Seem like we can put more efforts on giving gifts for others, then we can get more happiness.
Yeah, so your happiness isn't going to come from something external. This is what the unenlightened mind oftentimes lacks wisdom about, is that it thinks that I'm going to be happy if I get this new boyfriend or girlfriend, or if I get this new job, I'll be happy, or if I get this more money, I'll be happy, or this new car, I'll be happy. But that happiness is what's called conditional happiness. It's based on some condition. So if you get so happy when it's sunny outside, you'll be sad when it's raining. Or if you get so happy when your money is at this level of your bank account, when it goes here, you'll be sad. So this is what's called conditional feelings. The mind is forming its feelings on some condition. And because that condition is impermanent, when that changes, your mind's going to end up in the painful feelings. So the Buddha is teaching you how to not form conditioned feelings, but instead to get rid of all this conditionality and just always be peaceful and always be happy. Is called unconditional happiness, where if it's sunny outside, you're already happy before you saw it sunny. So therefore, when it rains, you're still happy. Or if your bank account's here, you're not happy because your bank account's here. You're just happy. And then when it goes here, you can still be happy because you don't form your feelings based on the amount of money that's in your bank account. But the way that the unenlightened mind thinks, and the only thing that it really knows, is to form its inner feelings on some condition. And this is the whole problem that the mind is experiencing and why it's going up and down and up and down. So this is why the foundational programs are so important, because in those programs, we teach you the very beginning, from the very beginning, and helping you to see what your mind is experiencing and why. Now, being in volume 13, this is helping you to more fully understand how to practice your generosity, which is ultimately going to train your mind to let go so you can get to the peace and joy that is permanent, not conditional happiness, but unconditional happiness.
I got it. Just put our heart to be peace and calm down. Right.
I'm sorry?
Keep our heart and mind in peace and calm down.
That's what the Buddha is guiding you to, is to get to the point where your mind's not shaken up by anything. Your mind can be stable and steady and peaceful and joyful. You can make wise decisions and nothing shakes up your mind. That's what the enlightened mind is. And you can experience that through training your mind. And generosity is just one component of that. But there's a whole path that you need to learn that generosity plugs into. So in this particular program, this particular class, if this is the first time you've been studying with me, don't think that generosity is the only thing you need to be doing. This is just one thing of many practices that you'll need to develop. But generosity is so important to be able to frequently give. And remember, it's your time, your effort, your energy, and your resources. So, even you're walking into a store and someone's behind you, if you open the door and you hold it for them, that's generosity. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, that's wonderful. That's practicing some generosity. But you need to do it without any expectation of anything in return. Because if you're standing there waiting for a thank you and they don't say thank you, you'll be frustrated. You'll be annoyed, right? So you can't even expect a thank you. Because of impermanence, not everyone's going to say thank you when they walk through the door. So if you're standing there with an expectation of thank you, when someone walks through and they don't say thank you, you'll be frustrated. You'll be agitated or annoyed. So practicing generosity is with the understanding that it's to enhance the quality of your mind, not for any other reason. You're not wanting anything. That's not the reason why you would practice generosity. But the Buddha here is teaching you what generosity is going to lead to, but you need to be able to practice it without wanting these things.
I see. Thank you for your explanation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
So I understand that these are the 5 qualities for a good gift. I had a question between the 4th and 5th quality, between giving a gift unreservedly and not injuring oneself.
Mm-hmm.
So just in an example for like buying a wedding ring for like a fiance or something.
Buying a ring for a fiance?
Just like an example.
Okay.
How can, just trying to find that middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
How can you unreservedly give without spending too much? How do you find that middle ground?
Yeah, that's where you need to find the middle. And for everybody, it's going to be a bit different, right? You need to look at your income. You need to look at your expenses. The Buddha has other teachings as well that you haven't seen yet. That's at the first part of this book, where he teaches to make sure you take care of yourself, right? Your food, your clothing, your water, your shelter, your medical care, as well as the people around you, like your life partner, your children, your parents, people like this, making sure that these people are whole. And then once you've taken care of that group, he goes on to other groups. He teaches these 4 groups of people that you should make sure you take care of and that they're whole. Because if you and your family and your employees aren't whole, that's the first group. How could you ever continue to exist in the world? You need to make sure these people are whole and that you're taken care of. So when you look at purchasing an engagement ring, you need to find out for yourself, what do you feel comfortable with? You shouldn't base your decision on the expectation of your partner, because if they're expecting something from you, it might not be the best choice to make a decision to do that, because now if they don't get what they expect, they're going to be angry and frustrated, and they're going to blame it on you. What the Buddha is teaching you is that your mind is causing your own discontentedness, whereas if you just always try to meet the expectations of the people around you, they will be happy temporarily, but then their expectations will go up. And they'll want more, and they'll want more, and they'll want more. So typically for me, if I know somebody expects something out of me, I will do just the opposite intentionally so that they don't continue to expect things. But oftentimes, particularly in Asian culture, which I think a lot of you guys are from Asian culture, we're taught to do whatever our parents expect, or whatever the people around us expect. And if you do this, you'll ultimately be unhappy because you're living your life based on other people's expectations instead of what it is that you're interested in doing. So when you go to purchase a ring, or you're considering purchasing a ring, you're going to need to look at your income and your expenses, figure out what's comfortable for you, rather than take on this massive amount of debt with a ring and a wedding ceremony and dress and all these different things where you start your relationship in debt. It's better to not do that you can start with a more stable financial footing. Sometimes I see this in the country that I come from. People will spend $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 on a wedding, and they enter into a relationship in debt. and now they've got all this pressure on them, and it sabotages the relationship. So if you'd like to give your relationship the best opportunity to be successful, don't enter into your relationship in debt. And make sure you talk to your partner about this too, so they're on board, because they can see that you're consciously making a decision about how to have a successful relationship with them. And part of that success is making sure you're financially stable. So if you enter into a relationship financially stable, where you're getting married and you're financially stable, this will promote the best opportunity for you guys to be successful together. And just figure out for yourself what you feel most comfortable with.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You had a question?
Hello. I just had a question about the middle path. I'm someone who's still quite early in my career, and I guess sometimes I find myself using that yearning to continue to pursue the next thing and develop my career and chase new things. I guess, how do you maintain that stability, not fall into, not caring about anything, and then also not overstretching your mind that much?
Sure. So when you're building your career, particularly early on, one of the best things to look at is building wisdom and building knowledge and building skills and abilities within your career, because oftentimes certain countries, you have many different options and which jobs to take. And oftentimes what we're taught is to go for the one that has the most money, right? And we might be chasing more money. But from my experience in the career that I had as I was going through life, is I wasn't always focused on the most money. I was focused on building the skills, because if you build your skills, you'll always have the money. Oftentimes places that are giving you a lot of money for salary, they're doing that because they have to, because their work environment is such that they have to pay a lot of money in order to get people to stick around. Where the places where the salary might be a little bit lower, you have a better work environment typically. When you're looking at compensation for the work that you're applying in a particular job, there's kind of 3 criteria that you would like to look at. You would like to look at the quality of your work, meaning like motivational projects and projects that help you to gain skills. You would like to look at any training that they're going to give you, like specific training for skills. Then you would like to look at the salary and the amount of salary that you get. This is like a triangle, right? And ideally, you would like to be right in the middle, right? Where you're able to get a certain amount of quality work, you're able to get a certain amount of training, new skills, you're able to get a certain amount of money that's going to help you to support your life. Whereas if you take this dot within this triangle over to this money, you're getting farther and farther away from quality work and training. And you might get more and more and more and more money, but within 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you're going to tap out. You're going to be making a certain amount of money that's kind of like the height of that job. But now you haven't acquired any good quality training or quality work that's helping you to develop your skills. And now you will tap out on the amount of money that you can make because you don't have the skills and the quality of work that's helping you to continue to grow in your career. So if you try to stay more and more in the middle, where you're getting quality work and training, and even closer to the quality work and training versus the money, as you grow in your career, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, if you're getting quality work and training for the first 5, 10, 15 years of your career, by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, you'll be making plenty of money because people will be interested in hiring you. In fact, your money will just keep growing and growing and growing and growing because you have all this skills and all this training that people employers are going to be interested in having. So you need to be able to do this out of wise decision making rather than chasing money, is to understand this triangle that you need quality work, training, and financial compensation, and not just chasing the financial compensation, but realize that that is something that you will be able to acquire if you have quality work and training. And then as you're going through your career and you're noticing that you're getting quality work, you're getting training, you're getting certain compensation, you're going to see that your bosses and your work environment, they're going to keep promoting you and giving you more and more money. And one of the things that you can do is say you have your standard of living and you're developed your life around, say, $50,000 a year, and you have a certain place that you live, you have certain transportation, clothing, food, and all these kinds of things. But now say they promote you and you get $70,000 a year. Instead of modifying your lifestyle and the way that you live, instead of living more exorbitant, instead, what I would encourage you to do is, if you've got your life living pretty comfortably at $50,000 a year, keep living at $50,000 a year. There's no reason to just go out and buy that super nice car just because you got a raise, or going out and buying that super nice jewelry just because you got a raise and showing off to people. Instead, you can stay at that $50,000 a year threshold and live your lifestyle that way for an extended period of time. Just let your money keep growing, and then you'll have more savings and you can save. And then, of course, at different times in your life, you can increment your lifestyle a little bit as you go. But whatever your salary is growing, if your salary is growing by $20,000 a year, for example, maybe only increment your lifestyle by $5,000, and then you have this extra $15,000 to be able to save and invest in your life partner, your children, your house, your career, maybe even investments that can help you to grow more money. This is one of the ways to help you to become more financially stable. Whereas if every time you get a raise, if you increase your lifestyle, meaning that you're spending more money on clothing and food and your cars and your house, then that means you're just spending the money and kind of throwing it out in the street. Each time you're getting a raise, you're just blowing the money rather than investing it wisely into maybe further career growth, your children, your family, or other investments and things like that. So that's a little bit of career advice for you. In doing this wisely, rather than out of craving, just knowing that these are wise decisions to gradually work towards, in that your career, you would like to have a nice longevity in your career, and doing that slowly and steadily is going to be better than just chasing the money. When I got out of college, a lot of my friends just took the highest paying job, and they ended up tapping out. After 5-10 years, they got to a point where they didn't have the skills anymore, and they had to go all the way back to school and retrain. And they ended up spending more money to go retrain because they weren't able to work, and they had to spend their money to train. Whereas if you understand that getting a job is to have quality work and training and just enough money that you're sustaining yourself and you're getting fairly compensated, but your real focus early on should be having mentors and quality work and training and working in an environment that you feel comfortable with.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions anywhere.
Sorry.
Oh, you have another one?
If I ask one follow-up
Sure,
question?
sure.
Like, one other thing that I really struggle with is when kind of I go for opportunities, I feel like I have to get it, even though, you know, there might be one person in the country that gets it. But I get hung up on it, and it creates an incredible amount of anxiety. I guess, do you have any advice on how to work through that and still, I guess, go for things but not be afraid of missing out? And yeah.
Sure. So when the mind sees something that it wants, right, like a job or more money or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a car or something like this, the untrained mind will have craving, and it'll have clinging. It'll long and yearn for this thing, thinking that this thing is going to complete me and make me feel whole. If I can just get this job, everything will be perfect in my life. Or if I can just get this boyfriend or girlfriend, everything will be perfect in my life. I don't need anything else. But then once you get that, it feels good for 3 months, 6 months, but then you're angry and frustrated. You're not happy anymore. This is the conditionality of those feelings. So you need to get wise to understand that whatever this thing is, it's not going to complete you. It's not going to make your life magically feel better and more amazing. It should just be part of your progression in life. So you need to remind yourself up front, and this is what comes with the training, is that this thing is impermanent. If it's a job, I think that's what you're asking about. If it's a job, you're not going to work there for the rest of your life. And even if you do work there for the rest of your career, at some point you're going to retire. So if you identify with this job as being who I am as a person, or this job is going to complete me, when you're doing it, you'll feel great. But when you're not doing it, like when you retire, you get injured and you can't do that job, or maybe the company lays you off, or they go out of business or something, you'll feel miserable. So you got to tell yourself early on and remind yourself all the way through the process of acquiring this particular thing and working towards it, I may or may not get this thing. And what I'm interested in is cultivating wisdom. So if I work towards this thing over the next 6 months and I ultimately get it, fine, that's wonderful. But if I don't get it, fine, that's wonderful too, because in the process, I've cultivated more wisdom. And now when the next opportunity that's similar to that comes along, I'll have more wisdom of how to pursue that thing. So when we think about things as success and failure, and we can only be happy when we get the thing that we want, then you'll feel miserable when you don't get what you want. But if you understand that life is about cultivating wisdom, then there's no such thing as failure, because everything you do is cultivating wisdom. So even if you work towards something, a particular goal, and you don't accomplish it, you still acquired wisdom. So that was a success. But sometimes we only think about success if we get what we want. So you need to think about what you're really interested in this life is acquiring wisdom. That's what's going to lead to improvement to the condition of your mind. And since we're talking about jobs, it's going to lead to improved income as well when you cultivate more wisdom. That's why you're looking for quality work and training, because you would like wisdom, right? The more wisdom you have, the more successful you'll be in life. So when you're pursuing a particular goal, don't think about the success or failure as whether you get that thing or not. Think about the success is, I'm going to cultivate wisdom in this situation. And I may or may not get this ultimate goal, but I'm going to get wisdom. And that's what I'm really after, is the wisdom. Yep, you're welcome. Okay, is that everybody's questions for this one? Okay, great discussion, guys. All right, so let's move to the next one, which is chapter 42. Would someone like to read this one? Yes, ma'am. By the way, for those of you guys that it's your first time here, we have a bathroom in the back of the room, the very last door on the right. Feel free to help yourself to that. We even have water and stuff here that you're welcome to help yourself to as well. Make yourself comfortable.
A wholesome person is born for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people. Monks, when a wholesome person is born in a family, it is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people. It is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of his mother and father, his wife and children, his slaves, workers, and servants, his friends and companions, his departed ancestors, the king, the heavenly beings, and ascetics and Brahmins. Just as a great rain cloud nurturing all the crops appears for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people, so too, when a wholesome person is born in a family, it is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people. It is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of their...
I think it just cut out for a second. It's
Okay.
still on.
Sorry, where was I?
Up here.
Yeah. It is for the good welfare and peacefulness of his mother and father, his wife and children, his slaves, workers, and servants, his friends and companions, his departed ancestors, the king, the heavenly beings, and the ascetics and Brahmins. The wise person residing at home truly lives for the good of many. Day and night, diligent towards his mother, father, and ancestors, he respects them in accordance with the teachings, remembering what they did for him in the past. Firm in confidence, the devoted man, having known their wholesome qualities, respects the homeless ascetics, the ascetics who lead the spiritual life. Beneficial to the king and the heavenly beings, beneficial to his relatives and friends, indeed beneficial to all. Well established in the wholesome teachings, he has removed the stain of selfishness and fares on to a heavenly world. When a person supports his parents and respects the family elders, when his speech is gentle and courteous, and he refrains from argumentative words. When he strives to remove meanness, is truthful, and eliminates anger. The Tavatimsa, heavenly beings, call him truly a wholesome person.
Okay, thank you, Kushi. So here, the Buddha is helping you see that by you practicing in a wholesome way, it's helpful to many people, that it helps many people in the world. Because when we're doing the opposite, we're harming people in the world, right? When we're being bitter and harsh and hostile and aggressive and irritable and frustrated towards others, when we're complaining about things, this is causing harm to other people. And what the Buddha teaches you is how to train your mind to not do that. But you need the tools and the techniques and the training to be able to know how to do that. That you're not going to just know how to do that from the beginning of your life. It's not like you're born with the wisdom of how to get to enlightenment. Every single person who's born, they're unenlightened and they need training. They need guidance. They need understanding. And that's why people come to the temple and they read books and they consult with teachers, and you train your mind, because as you train your mind to be more and more wholesome, more and more wise, you'll experience improved results in the world around you. Because as long as you're being bitter and harsh and hostile and you're putting that out, that's what's going to end up coming back to you. So the Buddha is teaching you how, just like this cloud, this rain cloud nurtures the crops and is good for many people, a wholesome person coming into the world and choosing to be wholesome and wise and making wise decisions, this is good for the welfare of many, many people. And this is why getting to enlightenment is the very best thing you could ever do for your own life, but also for the people around you. Because as you're getting closer and closer to enlightenment, you're going to be causing less and less harm to the people around you. You're going to be experiencing more and more harmonious relationships. So any questions on any of the details of this discourse? Remember, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom if you like, or if you have questions here, I can answer those as well. No questions? Okay. Oh, Jonko, looks like you have a question. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. So the kind of the bottom of the sentence. So it says, so sorry. So the kind of first part of the chunk. Sorry, the first part. Yes, the first chunk. The monks. It's start monks, and then the last line. So it said his departed ancestors, the kings, the heavenly beings, and ascets and Brahmins. So that meaning. So even I'm not sure if it's the right word. Those people who are departed ancestors, and the king is the kind of top of the country. Then heavenly beings, it's a different realm people. So even those people would get welfare and peacefulness if a wholesome person is born in the family. So it's really affected all of stuff to the country, so, or maybe over the earth. So I'm not so sure. So the first part, I think I understand. When a wholesome person is born in a family, so it's really good stuff for the family. I understand. So, but it said, so even though, not even though, but the departed ancestors, the king, the heavenly beings, they also have some good stuff from the wholesome person. So what kind of I'm not sure what refers or what this means.
Yeah, so what the Buddha is describing here when he's listing out all these people is essentially everybody around you. That's the way you can think about it. Today, there's not as many kings in the world, right? You can maybe think about this as the government, right? That's the kind of group of people that are, administering certain things in a population of people. But he's describing that all these people are going to benefit from you being wholesome and doing wise and wholesome things in the world.
Okay, I see. It's widely scattered, or it's go to all beings. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all beings are benefiting. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So let's move down to the next one, which is chapter 43. And we'll probably end with this one. Would someone like to read this one? Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Steve.
A fragrance of wholesome people spreads against the wind. Here, Ananda, in whatever village or town a man or a woman has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the teachings and the community, he or she is virtuous, practicing moral conduct and of wholesome character, abstaining from the destruction of life, taking what is not giving, sexual misconduct, false speech, and liquor, wine, and intoxicants, substances that cause heedlessness, the basis for heedlessness, and he or she resides at home with a mind free of the stain of selfishness, freely generous, open-handed, joyful in letting go, devoted to charity, joyful in giving and sharing. In such a case, ascetics and Brahmins in all quarters seek praise, saying, in such a village or town, a man or woman has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the teachings and the community. He or she is virtuous, practicing moral conduct and of wholesome character, abstaining from the destruction of life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, and liquor, wine, and intoxicants, substances that cause heedlessness, the basis for heedlessness, and he or she resides at home with a mind free of the stain of selfishness, freely generous, open-handed, joyful in letting go, devoted to charity, joyful in giving and sharing. The heavenly beings and spirits too seek praise, saying, in such a village or town, a man or a woman has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the teachings and the community. He or she is virtuous, practicing moral conduct and of wholesome character, abstaining from the destruction of life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, and liquor, wine, and intoxicants, substances that cause heedlessness, the basis of heedlessness, and he or she resides at home with a mind free of the stain of selfishness, freely generous, open-handed, joyful in letting go, devoted to charity, joyful in giving and sharing. This Ananda is the fragrance that spreads with the wind, against the wind, and both with and against the wind. The fragrance of flowers does not spread against the wind, nor fragrance of sandal, tagara, or jasmine, but the fragrance of wholesome people spreads against the wind. The wholesome person's fragrance fills all quarters.
Okay, thank you, Steve. So what the Buddha is teaching you here is that when you do wholesome things, it's going to spread. It's going to produce a wholesome reputation for you in your community, whether it's a personal life or your professional life. As you make wiser and wiser decisions based on the natural law of karma, of cause and effect, more and more people are going to look at you respectfully and consider you to be a wholesome person. And this is going to spread. And it's going to help you in your personal life. As you make friends, you're going to find that it's easier and easier to cultivate wholesome relationships around you. But it's also going to help you in your professional life too. That as you're making wise decisions, when your mind is concentrated and focused and clear, you're thoughtful about the decisions that you make, you're concise in the way that you speak, people are going to spread this news, right? Your reputation is going to just improve and improve and improve. So it's going to help you in your personal life, but it's also going to help you in your professional life. If you're doing just the opposite, if you were in your neighborhood and you were disgruntled and angry and bitter and harsh with your neighbors and people around you, this is going to spread too. And now people aren't going to want to deal with you. People aren't going to want to spend time with you. If you're arrogant and boastful and prideful and egotistical, you might find that it's hard to make friends and be around certain people. So by you training your mind to be humble and down to earth, by you training your mind to have good moral conduct like the Buddha is talking about here, you'll find that it's easier to make personal friends, and your professional relationships will really blossom as well, and you'll be more successful in life. So training your mind, as we were talking earlier, is ensuring you're not causing harm to people and all these people around you are benefiting, but because the natural law of karma, you're benefiting too. That shouldn't be the motivation. It shouldn't be that you're wanting something or expecting something from somebody, but the Buddha is showing you the cause and effect. By you training your mind, becoming a more wise and wholesome person, it's going to have all these effects. because of the natural law of karma. And then as you're learning and practicing, you can see the truth that this is actually occurring for you. Because right now you might have certain relationships where there's some bitterness or hostility or aggression, maybe with your parents, maybe with your siblings, maybe with an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe your children. Maybe it's hard for you to communicate with your children and you find hostility and bitterness in your relationships. But you can transform all of this. Oftentimes, the way that we think about transforming our life is we think about changing other people. We might try to change our children or change our parents or change our brothers and sisters. But what the Buddha is teaching you is to change your mind. Change your own mind. Because when you start functioning differently in the world and you're more loving and kind and compassionate and friendly and respectful and polite, when you're putting that out, that's what's going to then come back to you. If you're going around the world trying to change other people, this isn't going to work, because you can't change other people. Each individual person has to decide for themselves to improve. So if you change your own mind and you become wiser and you train your mind to become wiser, more clear, more concentrated, and you're not experiencing these discontent feelings, more and more the people around you are going to benefit from that. And this reputation is going to spread because more and more people are going to know that you're into wholesome things. And the Buddha is giving this great analogy about how the fragrance of flowers goes with the wind, right? It goes with the wind. But this particular fragrance, this particular reputation of being a wholesome person, it goes against the wind, meaning it spreads all throughout the world. So this is something you can experience as you become more and more wise and more wholesome in the way that you conduct your life. So any questions on this chapter? Let's see if we have anything online. Okay, I'm not seeing anything online either. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just end class here by thanking all of you guys for joining, whether you've been joining for the regularly or you've been joining for the first time. If this is your first time joining, welcome to our community. Welcome to Learning the Teachings of the Buddha. This is our Pali Canon English study group where students oftentimes have studied these chapters beforehand. When I teach this from home, I go through all 10 chapters in a week, and then we publish it as a podcast and a YouTube video. It's on our Facebook page as well. But here at the temple, we tend to have more of an interactive discussion. So I just take it up to a certain time and then we kind of finish. But if you're interested in learning with the original words of the Buddha, which isn't based in belief, which isn't rites, rituals, ceremonies, and worship, which are things you may have been taught at different times if you've been exposed to Buddhist environments, those things aren't actually the teachings of the Buddha. He didn't teach you to believe a bunch of things and hope something good happens when you die. He's providing you the wisdom of how to live your life now so you can experience the benefits and the results of having wisdom in your mind and making wise decisions now. And you can ultimately train your mind to the point where you don't experience anger and sadness and frustration and all these other discontent feelings. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're tired of the anger and the sadness and the loneliness and boredom, if you're tired of the broken relationships over and over and over again, there's help here for you in all the resources of books and videos and audiobooks and podcasts and even personal guidance, courses and retreats. All of it's available for you at no cost. You can just get to our website or you can get this book on our website, or you can get it here. I suggest people start with the first book, volume 1, and then gradually move through our various programs to be able to help you learn and develop your practice. So if there's anything that you would like for me to be able to help you, just feel free to reach out and I'm here to help you. So thank you all for joining for today. And if you'd like to attend for future classes, tomorrow we have our group learning program, which is great for people who are just starting out or developing a foundation. Tomorrow we're going to be in chapter 9, which is titled, What is Karma and How Does It Affect Me? I'm going to be explaining to you this natural law in a way that you can independently verify it and see the truth for yourself, that it's not mystical and magical. So I'm going to demystify this natural law for you and help you to see in a tangible way that this natural law is actually real and it's true, and you can actually learn it and develop your wisdom around it. And then on Monday, I'm going to be starting with a course. It's a 5-day course. It starts at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. It's titled Experiencing the jhanas and the 4 stages of enlightenment. What the jhanas are, these are these preliminary phases that the mind goes through and it's almost like the light bulb is flickering and is giving you an indication that the quality of your mind is improving before you get to the first stage of enlightenment. And this is a course I only teach twice a year, and I'm going to be teaching it this Monday. And you can attend here at the temple by just showing up on Monday. I will start class at 9 o'clock. We take an hour and a half lunch break, and then we finish up at 3. But if you're not going to be here in Chiang Mai, you can also attend by live stream through Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. And if you can't attend live, you can also just listen to the recordings, because it's going to be on those places as well, on our YouTube channel and our Facebook group, and you can watch it at your own pace. So if there's anything that you would like help with, feel free to reach out, and you're welcome to attend any and all of these classes and benefit from all the resources that we share to help you to get to this enlightened mental state where you can no longer experience any anger and sadness and frustration and all these discontent feelings. So have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.